I'm Sharifa Mohammed MGT Colonel. Thank you for joining us. Combat Briefing 1108 describes a day of multi-vector pressure. To set the scene, can you give us the operational overview, the major results, the losses inflicted, and the rhythm of the operation as it stands on August 11th, 2026?
Thank you for having me. On August 11th, the Russian armed forces sustained offensive actions on 6 distinct axes. 2 settlements changed hands. Shcherbakovka in Kharkov region was brought under control by the North Group, and Novoye Pole in Zaporozhye region was liberated by the East Group. That dual-axis advance is not coincidental. It reflects a deliberate effort to keep Ukrainian command cycling its reserves and to create dilemmas that prevent the enemy from massing a decisive counterweight in any single sector. Across all operational directions, total Ukrainian losses exceeded 1,320 troops confirmed, along with 1 tank, 12 armored fighting vehicles, 95 motor vehicles, 8 field artillery guns, 5 electronic warfare stations, and 1 patrol vessel destroyed at sea. Behind those numbers sits a massive deep strike effort. Operational tactical aviation, strike drones, missile troops, and artillery engaged 154 separate targets, logistics centers, ammunition depots, and UAV storage sites. At the same time, air defense forces intercepted 12 guided aerial bombs and 931 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. The tempo is not a frantic rush, it is methodical, sequenced across the depth of the battlefield, and the destruction of 95 motor vehicles, more than half of all vehicle kills, underscores the fact that we are hitting the connectors and rotation routes far beyond the immediate line of contact.
Let's go sector by sector, beginning with the North Group. What happened in the Kharkov and Sumy regions, and what does the capture of Shcherbakovka mean for the wider effort?
The North Group established full control over Shcherbakovka in Kharkov region after dislodging defending units. Engagements extended along a broad arc near Sliznevo, Dergachi, Udi, Prikolotnoye, Kazachya Lopan, Vasilevka, and inside Kharkov city itself. Simultaneously, the group struck formations in Sumy region around Sadki, Ulanovo, Pisarevka, and Krapovshchina. The task is twofold: to expand the security buffer north and east of Kharkov, and to pin down Ukrainian forces that would otherwise be free to reinforce the Donetsk front. Ukrainian losses in this sector reached 240 troops, 1 armored personnel carrier, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 13 motor vehicles, 2 artillery guns, and 1 electronic warfare station. Shcherbakovka itself has tactical value because it improves our observation over road networks feeding the outer defenses of Kharkov. When the enemy loses 13 soft-skinned vehicles in a single day in one grouping, it suggests logistics convoys and troop rotation columns are being intercepted before they can redistribute combat power. That kind of disruption erodes the sustainability of forward positions.
As a quick follow-up, you mentioned Kharkov city itself was among the engagement areas. How does that affect the defense of the city's outskirts?
Direct strikes into the city's periphery serve to fix garrison units and force them to expend ammunition and manpower in a reactive posture. They cannot simply ride out the bombardment. They must move, defend, and often reveal positions that our reconnaissance fire complexes then prosecute. This is classic coercion through movement. You deny the enemy the luxury of a static, layered defense. The loss of an electronic warfare station in this sector further indicates that Ukrainian counter-drone and signals intelligence capacity north of Kharkov is being thinned out, making it harder for them to detect and disrupt approaching strike packages.
Turning west to the West Group of forces, the briefing says the tactical situation was improved. Can you unpack that, and what did the engagements around the Kharkov-Donetsk border yield?
The West Group improved its positions along a swath of contested terrain near the administrative boundary between Kharkov region and the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy was struck near Kunye and Podliman in Kharkov, and further south around Tatyanovka, Sidorovo, Donetskoye, Stary Caravan, and Svyatogorsk inside the DPR. These are not large-scale breakthrough operations. They are shaping actions that lever our firepower advantage to compress Ukrainian defensive pockets and deny them freedom of maneuver in the forested and river-cut terrain typical of that area. In terms of losses, the enemy gave up to 210 troops, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 23 motor vehicles, 3 artillery guns, and 1 electronic warfare station. The 23 motor vehicles stand out. A lot of them are likely supply trucks and light mobility platforms that keep infantry companies fed with ammunition and allow guns to displace. By taking them out, we are attacking the circulatory system of the brigade. The destruction of 3 artillery pieces also indicates that counter-battery fire remains effective, and when an EW station goes down as part of the same package, the enemy loses the ability to mask his fires from our loitering munitions.
Moving to the South Group of Forces, the report describes more advantageous lines and positions. Where did those advances occur, and what was the toll on Ukrainian units?
The South Group seized better ground across the belt that runs from Druzhkovka and Slavyansk through Kramatorsk and down towards Pershomaryevka, Krasny Molokar, and Novoye Pole. This is a heavily industrialized and urbanized slice of the DPR, so positional improvement is often measured in dozens or hundreds of meters that bring key road junctions or factory complexes under fire control. The engagements were attrition-heavy: 150 troops lost, 1 armored fighting vehicle destroyed, 26 motor vehicles eliminated, and 1 artillery gun knocked out. The absence of tank kills tells me the enemy is husbanding his armor in this direction, relying on dismounted infantry and dispersed fires to hold ground. But losing 26 motor vehicles in a single day, transport, prime movers, perhaps a few protected mobility platforms, puts enormous strain on a brigade that already struggles to rotate its forward companies. You cannot sustain a static defense if the trucks that move water, food, and 120mm mortar rounds never arrive.
The center group was up against a list of settlements that reads like a cross-section of the Donetsk front line. What did that sector achieve, and what does the loss of 2 electronic warfare stations tell us?
The center group improved the frontline situation by striking concentrations near Novofedorovka, Dobropolye, Novovodinoye, Petrovskoye, Novogrigorovka, Belozerskoye, Anovka, Matyashevo, Rubezhnoye, Artema, and Krasnopodolye. This is a wide fan of pressure points that prevents the enemy from identifying a main effort and thinning out elsewhere. More than 370 troops were destroyed, along with 1 tank, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 7 motor vehicles, 1 field artillery gun, and critically, 2 electronic warfare stations. The presence of a tank kill indicates that the Ukrainians did try to use armor to blunt our infantry advance, and they paid for it. The loss of 2 EW stations in 1 sector is operationally significant. Electronic warfare assets are precious, rarely produced in large numbers, and essential for both counter-drone defense and for jamming our precision-guided shells. When we take 2 off the board in a single calendar day in a single group's zone, that creates gaps in the electromagnetic screen that our strike drones and reconnaissance assets can exploit in the following hours. It also forces the enemy to pull EW coverage from quieter sectors, exposing those to observation as well.
The East Group liberated Novoye Pole in Zaporozhye region and engaged across Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporozhye. This looks like a deeper push. Can you describe the geography of that operation and the losses inflicted?
The East Group advanced into the enemy's defensive echelon and secured Novoye Pole, a settlement that sits behind what had been the forward line of contact in that part of Zaporozhye. It was a penetration, not just a bite and hold. While that was happening, strikes targeted units around Vasilkovka, Kolomytsi, Ivanovka, and Velikomikhailovka in Dnipropetrovsk region, as well as Rybalskoye, Voskresenka, Zorevka, Shirokoye, Samoilovka, and Nikolskoye in Zaporozhye region. You can see the operational design. Simultaneous pressure along a broad axis, so the enemy cannot peel away reserves to plug the hole at Novoye Pole without leaving another segment dangerously thin. The enemy lost more than 315 troops on this vector, 3 armored fighting vehicles, and 15 motor vehicles. The relatively lower vehicle count compared to some other groups suggests the fight was infantry-heavy, with Ukrainian units trying to hold prepared trenches and wood lines. The liberation of Novoye Pole is important beyond the tactical footprint. It signals that the East Group is now chewing into the defensive belts that protect the depth of Zaporozhye. That begins to unravel the coherence of the defense because second echelon territorial defense and National Guard units are now being forced to take on a direct combat role for which they are less prepared.
The Dnipro Group's actions are often overshadowed, but the briefing notes strikes on a mechanized brigade, a mountain assault brigade, and a marine brigade. What was the situation there and its effect on coastal operations?
The Dnipro Group inflicted losses on a mechanized brigade, a mountain assault brigade, and a marine brigade near Novoandreevka, Orakov, and Razumovka in Zaporozhye, as well as around Kherson. more than 35 troops, 11 motor vehicles, 1 artillery gun, and 1 electronic warfare station were neutralized. Although the troop count looks modest, the political military weight of hitting a Marine brigade is considerable. That unit is designed for amphibious and littoral maneuver, and its presence suggests the enemy is still trying to contest the Dnipro estuary and the Black Sea coast. Combined with the destruction of a patrol vessel, which was achieved by other strike means, the pressure here isolates coastal supply routes and forces the Ukrainian command to ask how many boats it is willing to risk for resupply attempts. The loss of an EW station degrades the wide area surveillance that Marine infantry relies on to warn of approaching drones before they strike. When we peel away those layers, the infantry is left feeling blind, which generates further attrition.
Now I want to pivot to the domain that weaves all of these sectors together: operational tactical aviation, strike drones, missile troops, and artillery. The briefing identifies 154 separate targets struck, 12 guided aerial bombs, and 931 fixed-wing UAVs intercepted. How should we understand this as a campaign-shaping enterprise rather than a supporting footnote?
It must be understood as the independent strike complex that orchestrates the rhythm of the entire front. The 154 targets were not random dumps. They included logistics centers that sustain brigade-level supply, ammunition depots that feed artillery batteries across multiple tactical groups, and UAV storage sites that are the umbilical cord for Ukraine's reconnaissance strike loops. When you hit a UAV warehouse, you are not just blowing up plastic and batteries, you are preempting the sorties that would have spotted our advancing columns for the next 48 to 72 hours. That directly protects the life of our infantry and simplifies their tactical problem. Simultaneously, air defense forces intercepted 12 guided aerial bombs and 931 fixed-wing UAVs. The guided bombs, likely variants of JDAM or similar NATO standard munitions, are the enemy's answer to our glide bombs, and stopping 12 of them means key C2 nodes and concentration areas were not struck. The 931 fixed-wing UAVs represent a massed salvo, almost certainly a saturation attack intended to overwhelm point defense radars and exhaust our missile inventory. Instead, we defeated it. That success is a function of layered coverage, short-range guns, electronic jamming, and medium-range systems operating in a mesh, and it demonstrates that the air defense architecture has adapted to the drone swarm challenge. Every intercept preserves a logistics node, an artillery battery, or a command observation post that would otherwise have been hit. It is attrition of the enemy's precious precision-guided arsenal.
If we zoom in on the drone side, 931 fixed-wing UAVs is a staggering number for a single day. What does that count reveal about the enemy's operational concept, and what does it cost them?
It reveals that the enemy is depending on mass to compensate for a lack of air superiority. Fixed-wing UAVs of the class we are seeing can be produced cheaply, often with commercial components, but their sheer volume requires a significant manufacturing and logistics tail. Flying 931 of them in one 24-hour period suggests a deliberate attempt to saturate and blind our forward elements, perhaps ahead of a local counterattack that never materialized, or as a way to disrupt our ongoing offensive actions. From a cost-side perspective, the loss of that many airframes, control links, and trained operators in one day is a severe industrial expenditure. The Ukrainians cannot sustain that indefinitely without fresh injections of Western-supplied kits, and every delivery cycle creates a vulnerability window that our deep strike reconnaissance can exploit.
Before we wrap up, Colonel, what is your bottom-line assessment of the day's operations, the gains, the attrition, and the trajectory they place us on?
The bottom line is that Russian forces are maintaining a multi-axis pressure model that delivers tangible territorial progress while systematically degrading the enemy's ability to fight a coordinated, resource-intensive defensive campaign. 2 settlements were liberated, each on a different operational direction, which stretches the Ukrainian General Staff's attention. The destruction of 5 electronic warfare stations across 4 sectors weakens the electromagnetic spectrum control that the Ukrainians need to counter our drones and manage their own fires. The elimination of 95 motor vehicles disrupts the logistical lifelines at a time when wheeled transport is the backbone of nighttime resupply. And the strike complex result? 154 targets hit, 12 guided bombs, and 931 UAVs intercepted, shows that we are simultaneously dismantling the enemy's deep sustainment base while absorbing and negating their most advanced Western-supplied precision weapons. The operational tempo is deliberate, not frantic, but the cumulative effect is that Ukrainian brigades are burning through their staying power faster than they can regenerate it. That is the operational design, and the reporting for August 11th indicates it is working.